An industry plant in music is often an artist who is very small, who ends up getting seen by a record label, and they see them as having the potential to make the record label money, and so they take them in, give them connections, give them everything that they think they'll need to be able to ram them down consumers' throats until they become somebody, that way that they can make the company money, and it also offers the person a chance at success, so it's usually a very enticing deal to new artists.
You just described 99% of the average music artist's story throughout history. I mean, everybody starts out small and then they sign to a record label because the record label thinks that this artist can make them money. Nobody or no artist gets signed because the record label thinks, hey, you know what? This artist will cost us massive amount of money and will never truly recoup our money. I mean, this is why I hate the term industry plant, because it's one of the most open-ended terms in history. It ties with the term alt-right in my personal opinion.
Is sadly a little bit more difficult for even me to come to terms with due to the fact that I like Billie Eilish's music, and even back in August, I had 4 of her songs on my playlist that month in a row, so to say the least, I was rooting for her success.
Now, I want you to keep this clip in mind. It will be useful later on in the video.
Basically, for those of you who don't know what an industry plant is, it's a very argued over term as to what it really means, because it is just a term. It isn't like a dictionary defined thing. So Complex actually defines it as to imply that a rapper or singer is an upstart fraud, a record label puppet, a focus group tested vessel of creativity, so-called. Any musician with a hazy or straight up fabricated origin story.
The only thing that Complex got right with that definition is fabricated origin story. I'm much more or less like the Genius defined definition, which is a artist that is backed by a major/indie label who presents themselves as a homegrown startup only to create some type of organic build-up as a fan base. Like, think of it like Immortal Technique, which, if you haven't heard of him, that's because he's actually truly indie, or a Chance the Rapper, or Macklemore, etc., in the rap sphere. And also think of it as the Ramones. If the Ramones or Arcade Fire or a whole bunch of indie groups and acts that I heard of throughout my life, if it turned out that they were signed for their whole entire career, that would just be a striking blow to me personally. But that's my preferred favorite definition. It gets out a lot of the crud.
So when I first started looking in to try and find if she was an industry plant, I went for the big question. How did Billie Eilish blow up? Because that's usually where you can find the beginning places of if they're a plant. And luckily, I have you guys some answers. A lot of people who know Billie's music obviously know that the song that blew her up was Ocean Eyes, but I have a feeling a very small amount of people actually know how Ocean Eyes came to be. First off, Billie didn't even write Ocean Eyes, nor did she do the production on it. All she did was vocals.
Look, if you want an artist that writes their own music, does their own production, and does their own vocals, there's this new, great, incredible artist I would like to introduce you to. His name is Russ! But all kidding aside here, I mean, Marvin Gaye, Rihanna, even the great Elton John doesn't write their own lyrics. Hell, Frank Sinatra didn't write his own lyrics. He mostly just covered people. Whitney Houston, the list goes on and on. This is pop. It's not a singer-songwriter driven genre like kind of like maybe hip-hop or rock is. Most pop artists doesn't write their own lyrics. That doesn't make all pop artists like just industry plants. I mean, come on, think with your head.
What I found was, a complicated mess, I guess I'd say. Billie explains how Ocean Eyes came to be in 2 completely different ways between 2 separate interviews. In her interview with Vogue magazine, she says this: "Last year, one of my teachers asked if I would either write a song or have my brother write a song to choreograph a dance to. And I was like, yes, that's such a cool thing to do. Then my brother came to me with Ocean Eyes, which he had originally written for his band. He told me he thought it would sound really good in my voice. He taught me the song, and we sang it together along to his guitar, and I loved it. It was stuck in my head for weeks. weeks. We kind of just decided that that was the song we were going to use for the dance. But in her interview with Interview Magazine, she said this. It was weird because we didn't plan for it to do anything really. The reason we put it out when we did was that the whole song was meant for my dance teacher, because he wanted to do it for a dance. That's why the production is dance-esque, contemporary, and lyrical. And then it was done. And we were gonna wait until Friday to put it out, and thought, screw it, let's just put it out now. So in one interview, she claims that Ocean Eyes was a pre-made song by her brother, and that the production was already completed to be able to do a dance to for her dance teacher. But in another interview, she claims that the song was basically made specifically for the dance, and that all of the production was to go for the dance. Very different replies, in my opinion.
Well, your opinion is shit, probably because your listening and comprehension skills pretty much suck. But no, there's nothing that contradicts in her second story that her first story lays down. I mean, she admits in her first story that her brother brought her the song and even taught her the song on a guitar. And she explains in the first story, summarizing why the song sounds like a dance song because it was meant for her dance teacher. And she put it out, and it's a poppy sounding song that's meant for dance. I mean, what's so hard to understand about? It's not a contradictory story at all.
It gets even worse because in a video called Billie Eilish Reacts to Teens React to Billie Eilish, she ends up saying this.
I know that when she made this song, she was like 14, right?
I was 13.
Which this throws me off because no, Billie, you did not make the song. When someone says that somebody made a song, they usually assume that they wrote the song, produced the song, did something more than just the vocals. You did not make the song.
Guys, I meant this as a damn joke, but damn, this guy, the only person who actually makes songs to this guy is Russ. Russ and Nab are the only people in this guy's mind who actually make songs. Not even rappers make the beat or the productions to their lyrics or even sing their hooks many times. I mean, what the hell is this guy blabbering on about?
Also, her brother who keeps getting mentioned is a singer, songwriter, and actor named Finneas. He's actually been in some pretty big things like Fallout 4, Glee, Bad Teacher, and Modern Family.
Her father and mother also did bit acting roles throughout their whole careers, and they're filthy rich. But I guess if he went out and said, you know what, Billie Eilish had a privileged background, so any musical success she ever had, it's because she's rich, would sound too bitter and crab in the barrel for him.
But as previously mentioned, he does do his own music, and it's very easy to see that Billie probably is influenced a lot by his style, due to them doing things very, very closely. One thing you can probably do is if you listen to any Billie Eilish song or Finneas song by itself, you can probably imagine like either one of the two singing each other's songs because they sound so similar when they do their music.
Now, this is the only part of the video where I wish he showed less constraint and actually outright said that Finneas made her famous, which is something that he actually did. He wrote the songs. I mean, he did more than inspire her. He wrote the song. He probably helped out with the beat, the chorus, all types of shit. But would I say that their music is similar in any way? Hell no. No, I'm sorry. They have different vocals, different music patterns, different way of singing and expressing their vocals, all types of shit. I mean, just to say it, I mean, Billie's vocals sound much more better than his, in my personal opinion. Now, he could sing better than me, don't get me wrong, but still, it's pretty mild of the water, like very, very vanilla bread with his vocals, I have to say.
Also, another thing that I haven't mentioned about the family is that the parents, too, are also actors and musicians who have been in quite a bit of stuff, honestly. Billie and her brother had even said that growing up it was much easier to do stuff with music when you're born with all of these instruments and other things laying around your house.
Look, coming from a person who had a Stratocaster that was worth about, I don't know, like my parents told me it was like $1,500, and it was a left-hander one, so I had to get it specially made. I haven't touched that shit in about 4 years. Point being is, unless you have the drive to play an instrument, it doesn't matter how many instruments are around you. And I just like to point out that plenty of artists grew up with a privileged to high class background. Look at Drake. I mean, his father was a musician and his grandfather played in Al Green's band for a little while. So he has plenty of musical directions and lineage by his blood. But people don't call him a industry plant. He had to drop mixtapes like the rest of us.
But now something else that's kind of sketchy that I want to get into about Billie Eilish is the fact that even though she only had her music on SoundCloud and had one big hit at that time, being a song that she didn't even write, she was signed to Interscope Records. Yes, that's the same people who have guys signed like Eminem, Dr. Dre, Imagine Dragons, Guns N' Roses, Kendrick Lamar, Madonna, Sting, Selena Gomez, and a fuck ton of other people. How did a 14-year-old girl who had almost no music under her belt manage to get a record deal with a massive company like Interscope when she didn't even write or produce the song that blew her up? Did they see potential in her vocals?
Yes, that's exactly what happened. Plenty of artists get signed because of one huge song. I mean, think of Designer, and plenty of artists sign younger than Billie Eilish. I mean, think of Bow Wow. He was signed at like 8. Think of Jackson. He was signed at like 6. I mean, the list goes on and on. Why is he being such a cynic, skeptical douchebag about this? It happens all the time. And to be fair, she was 14, so legally she can't sign a contract. Her parents signed it for her so she can get the bag.
If so, that is just planting someone. That is just straight up taking somebody and saying, hey, if we gave you everything, you'd be able to probably do well. It's not any hard work put into it. It's just straight up, here, we're gonna grab you and put you into this. Because she didn't have anything of her own. Because that's the thing.
Look, kid, that's how the music industry works. I mean, you have one good song, people see potential in you, and they sign you early so they can develop your talent. It happens with plenty of people. I mean, Tammy Blackman, or whatever the hell her name is, the chick who did Unbreak My Heart, she was signed at like 11 if you watch her biography, and they developed her talent.
The thing, when she put music finally onto Spotify, she was already signed to Interscope, meaning she got a deal signed to her before ever even attempting to have anything go worldwide. She had nothing. To me, it's just a little bit worrying, especially when it's somebody so young getting signed onto a record label of that size. It makes me worried about what kind of control they have over her.
Look, guys, before you put your music on any of these streaming platforms, please get it copywritten. Like Billie Eilish probably got her music copywritten with Interscope, making sure nobody could take her music and abuse her music or even take her lyrics, which was a smart idea on her side of the picture. But this guy, he's signed with YouTube. I'm afraid what type of control they have over him. I mean, come on, man. Don't hate on another young person. You're probably the same age, or she's probably even older than you. Come on. Don't hate on another person's success. And her parents, she seemed like she has good parents, so they know how not to get screwed by the industry, I'm presuming.
Control they have over her, as she's already made these statements about the music industry.
The music industry, man. We're all sad as hell. All these artists, we're sad as shit, dude. Everybody I know that's an artist, we are sad motherfuckers. That's the way it is.
And if you've watched the full 1 year apart Vanity Fair interview, you'll see it's kinda heartbreaking to watch and see how much the industry has changed her and hurt her as a person so young.
All right, wait for it, here it comes.
A lot of people give Billie Eilish, I think, way too much credit, acting like she's some kind of, alternative god, and that she's creating a new industry of people, and that she's, altering how people see music, and I just don't see that. I'm not really impressed by it. I'm not impressed with a person who's 13 and comes from a family who already has industry ties. Then her brother writes and produces a song that she ends up singing, and it blows up with one song on Spotify. She is already signed to Interscope.
One moment he says that the industry is making her sad, and the next moment he criticizes and down her artistry. Have you ever thought that maybe she's not sad by the industry that probably pays her millions of dollars to live her life? Maybe she's sad by people like you who criticizes her and downgrades her tremendous performance, acting, and hard work to make her songs by calling her an industry plant and saying, hey, because you're rich, all that hard work you did in the studio working on your songs, it's all irrelevant and garbage and going to the trash dump, and that you're truly not an artist. You're somehow picked or plucked from irrelevancy by these studios, and you're just a manufactured piece of thing that we have to criticize.
One part that I didn't really mention either is the fact that her brother is still unsigned, yet he is literally the reason why she is famous. So if they saw potential in her just because of her vocals, why didn't they sign Finneas when he's a vocalist and an instrumentalist?
Just because you're good at writing doesn't mean you're good at singing. And just because you're good at singing doesn't mean you're good at writing. I mean, it's just simple concepts, me dude. But I'm gonna end it here. This guy's video was trash, to tell you the truth. And if she was truly like an industry plant, wouldn't her brother be signed to like a major label? That way it could have made her easier to sign to a major label or something like that. I don't get this guy's logic. He's trash. Please like, subscribe, share this video.